Now let's move on to the main reason we are here today. It's my great pleasure to introduce this year's honoree for the Executive of the Year Award, Todd Sachse. Todd is, don't get up here yet, Todd. Todd is the CEO of Sachse Construction and the principal of Zollman Restoration. Since founding Sachse Construction in 1991, Todd has led the company to construct millions of square feet across the U.S. and Canada. Sachse Construction has built a reputation for hard work, high standards, reliability, integrity, earning the prestigious recognition as one of the best and brightest companies to work for, both locally and nationally. Todd's entrepreneurial spirit extends to Zollman Restoration, where his passion for helping others is evident. Zollman Restoration has not only been recognized for its excellent work, but also as an outstanding place to work, known for its professionalism, empathy, and care. Beyond his professional achievements, Todd is deeply involved in philanthropic efforts. He is active with the Jewish Federation of Detroit, the Young Presidents Organization, and New Detroit. When not leading his teams or giving back to the community, Todd enjoys skiing in Aspen, where he finds time to recharge and connect with his family. Todd's leadership and dedication to community and passion for building, whether it's businesses, relationships, or physical structures, are what make him a truly deserving of this year's Executive of the Year honor. A couple of weeks ago, I had the chance to sit down with Todd, right here at the DAC on the beautiful 7th floor. For those of you who may not know, this stunning addition was built by Sachse Construction about 9 years ago. That evening, Todd shared something that I'd like to pass along. He confided that building the 7th floor was the most challenging project he's ever taken on. With construction schedules in a 24-hour operational building, a 100-year-old structure with little to no existing drawings, an entire board of directors to answer to, the stakes were high and the complexity was unmatched. As we admired the view that night, it struck me how that project symbolizes something every business owner can relate to. The perseverance required to face our toughest challenges and the grit to see them through. The 7th floor stands not only as a beautiful space, but as a testament to Todd's dedication and the extraordinary outcomes that unwavering commitment can achieve. From that conversation, I took away a powerful lesson. Success is not just about what we build, but how we build it. It's about fostering relationships, uplifting our communities, and standing firm in our values. Todd's example reminds us all to approach our work with the same integrity and vision he brings to every endeavor. Please join me in welcoming our 2024 Executive of the Year, Todd Sachse.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I guess you just did it all. I'm done. Okay, go back to eat and enjoy. Well, thank you all for coming. I appreciate you all taking the middle of the day out, which I thought was so interesting when I was told about the agenda and it said from 11:30 to 12 was, cocktail hour. I'm going, wait, it's cocktail hour on a Thursday? What are we in the Bahamas on the beach? I thought that was quite interesting. How do you join this place? You get to have cocktail hour at 11:30 in the morning. Raise your hand if you had a cocktail. Oh, that is phenomenal. I can say whatever I want now. This is great. Great, thanks for the setup. So a little preview of what I'm planning on doing here. I'm planning on telling our story here through the lens of how did we get where we are today, right? And you'll see at the beginning and then at the end the theme of it, which is really the journey and what I learned over the years in some of the milestones. Really, there were hundreds of milestones, but there's a couple key ones that I'm going to share that I've learned, because what I will say right from the beginning, everything that we've done in all of our companies came from somebody else. It came from somebody else. Some team member joined, whether it be 40 years ago or 30 years ago, and they said, oh, I got an idea. Why don't we try this, or why don't we do that? And went, oh my God, that's a great idea. So that's kind of the theme of this whole setup. So I'm going to go all the way back, yes, to when I was in high school and I had hair. okay? When I look at these pictures, I wish I could just tear it off and put it on. When I was in high school, I actually, one of my closest friends at the time, his name was Doug. And my brother actually, he's 2 years older than me, when he was in high school also, he was washing windows at some stores. And then when he went off to college, he handed it off to me. And Doug and I started Doug and Todd's window washing service. And that was my first, I'll call it, entrepreneurial venture in high school. And I'll tell you, I learned a lot. My first memory was sitting in my kitchen counter meeting. My father said, you have to get insurance. Anybody here sell insurance? No insurance people, you can add that to it, right? Oh, I saw an insurance guy over there. And I had to buy insurance, and sitting at the kitchen counter explaining to me what insurance was for the business, okay? So that was kind of the very beginning. Well, when we went to college, I went to University of Michigan. Go Blue? Okay, good. All right, so we got a good audience here. Get some more cocktails going over here, okay? My partner, Doug, was also my college roommate freshman year, but he didn't want to be in the window washing business anymore. I said, I do. So I came with a very creative name, which was Todd's Window Washing Service. And yes, my license plate on my car was TWWS. But at the time, I had no intention of kind of growing this or doing this. I just continued to do it. And my beautiful wife, Karen's here, and she used to work with me. She would go wet the windows, and I would wash the windows in the middle of January. Thank you for all your support. So that's kind of how it began. But then, fast forward a couple years later in 1983, was my beginning of my junior year of college, had this brilliant idea. I think I heard somebody over here say they're in the maid service business. I love to hear that. I started a company with two of my college roommates called American Home Cleaning, American Maids. We had this brilliant idea that we were going to clean student houses, okay? Can you imagine that, right? I heard all the noise about that. So what we quickly found out is that not only the students didn't want you, number two, they couldn't afford it, and they would not, and number three, we didn't want to clean them because they were disgusting. What we did learn is that there was actually a need for normal people who live in Ann Arbor who wanted their houses cleaned. So there's a whole story behind that, which is a whole nother presentation if I had an hour to tell you. We started the maid service junior year in college. So from that point forward, I had the window washing company and the maid service, and obviously pretending to do my studies. So that's kind of what went on. And when I graduated, I actually graduated, believe it or not, pre-med, and got all the way to the point where I applied to medical school, got into medical school, and it was, I'm going to give you my guess, it was February, March, April of my senior year. I picked the phone and I called my mom and said, I just want to let you know, I decided I'm not going to go to medical school. I decided to wash windows and clean toilets instead. And she said, great, okay? And at the time, actually, I had a vision, right, of franchising. My vision. Did anybody here ever heard of the company called Molly Maid? Right, okay. So Molly Maid was actually started in Ann Arbor. And my goal was, I wanted to be the next Molly Maid and franchise across the country. That was like my vision. So after college from 1985 to 1991, I expanded the window washing company and the maid service business, had an office in Ann Arbor, an office in Farmington Hills, and depending upon the time of year between summer, because summer had a lot more window washers, I'd have anywhere from 30 to 80 team members working. And the reason why I'm saying that is because these years from, call it I started having employees when I went to college because I had to hire some people to do some of the work in various areas. It was the first time I actually had, what at that time called employees. Today we refer to them as team members. And I was learning during this entire time about being an employer. I've never had a job in my life, so I've never been an employee. So I had to figure out, as I'm learning through all of these years of hiring people and managing people and figuring out what's important and how do you deal with people. And I've learned sitting here today, there's nothing more difficult in business, and there isn't a close second than management. Managing people is the most difficult thing, period. So these early years, I learned a real lot. And what I ultimately learned, and here's the preview of the end game, I learned it was PPC. that every business depends on 3 of the most important things, and I call it 100, 100, 100. It's 100% the right people in the right seats. It's 100% having processes and systems to run by, and 100% having a culture that people want to be a part of and continue to grow. And I'm going to stop on the word culture for a minute. And if you take the last 3 letters out of the word culture, it's a cult. The root word of culture is a cult. And what is a cult? A cult is a group of people who are like-minded. They have a vocabulary. They have common beliefs. That is the definition of a cult. It's also the definition of a culture. Every company has a culture. Whether you know it or not, you have one, right? The question is, do you understand it? Have you defined it? And how intentional is it? So I'm going to now bring it back to the beginning. So it's now 1991. And that's when I had this crazy idea to say, you know what? I'm going to sell my cleaning companies, because I got to admit, for those who are still in it, God bless, it's a very difficult business. They're all difficult. But I decided to get out of that business and say, you know what? I'm going to start a construction company. And at the time, there was 1 employee, which was me, and a telephone. And I think some people here may be old enough to know what the yellow pages are. I put an ad in the yellow pages. And again, once again, came with a very creative name, Sachse Construction. Okay? And I did what you do when you're starting out a business with 1 person yourself at a telephone, and I just would call anybody that I knew who might hire me to build them something, you know? And I literally had my little Macintosh computer and a little database, and I would call somebody and ask them, and I put the thing, oh, I talked to Tony on Tuesday, and he said call him 6 months from now, right? So that's just kind of how it began. Okay, I'll call it, that's business development 101. Literally just making phone calls. So yeah, I thought it'd be good to put the stat on it. I had 1 team member, which was me, did 1 project, and somebody made the comment, I think up here earlier, somebody was yelling out, was relationships. I was fortunate enough to get a break. Somebody who I knew had to say, I'm going to give you a chance, and I'm going to give you the first project. I'm going to hire you even though you've never existed before, okay? And I was fortunate enough to do that, and it was the owner of Somerset Mall. His name is Nate Forbes. Many of you probably know who he is or know him. And they were doing a big renovation of Somerset South at the time, adding a 2nd floor, and they needed a restaurant built in the middle of the mall. It's not there anymore. It's now a fountain. But back in 1991, he gave this I don't know how old it was, 28-year-old, a chance and said, I'll let you build this. Little sidebar, the entire project had to be done at night. It was, the mall closed at 9 o'clock. By 10 o'clock, we would go in there and work till 5 o'clock in the morning, right? 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, we had to clean up and move out so that the mall would open again at 10 o'clock the next morning. So at that time, I was working nights, days, everything to try to get this thing going. But it was fun, okay? So it just evolved, right? It all came down to having opportunities. Another opportunity, that was a little retail job, okay? What happened next? Another acquaintance of mine said, hey, we need some office build out done. And my today partner, his name is Richard Broder, who's today my partner, he was my client. He was an acquaintance at the time, and he said that they had their own construction company at the company that he worked at, which was called Farbman Stein at the time, now called the Farbman Company. They had their own construction company. But I found they were too busy, there was a conflict. He says, hey, why don't you go build this office for us? And the reason why I say this, because again, it was a small little project. It was a $42,000 project. Let me tell you something, that was huge. I'll tell you, it's a big deal today, a $42,000 project. It was a really big deal, my first full year in business. And he actually told me a story that he reminds many of us of when this project was done. And when this project was completed, he came to do a punch list, and we walked into the bathroom of the office, and I was so bothered because the cover plate of the switch was sitting there, and the screws for them were sitting on the, on the top of the toilet, and the cover plate had not been put on. And I said to him, I'm so sorry, I thought we were done. And he was like, it's no big deal, just put the cover plate. I said, no, but I said, I'm so sorry, okay? And that kind of began something that I think I was beginning to learn, which we'll talk about later, was some of the mindsets that we have developed in the company. Well then, my next lesson was, just say yes, even if you have absolutely no idea how to do what you just said yes to do, okay? So, because we did that project at Somerset Mall, I started building stores in Somerset Mall. So when the stores were coming in, I'd convince them, or I'd get an opportunity to contact them, whether it be, these retailers coming in, I contacted the retailer, hey, we're working in the mall, can I build your store? And started getting some projects. And then we built one store. And we built a store called The Nature Company. It was a stupid store that sold rocks, okay? Anybody remembered it was the funniest thing. They sell rocks and people would pay like $12 for a rock, okay? But they were kind of cool stores. So anyhow, we built this store and it went great. The client loved us. And then, I'll never forget, her name was Angela, I'll never forget that. And she says, hey, Todd, we got a project in California. We'd love you to take a look at it. So she sends me the plans, and not only is it California, it's actually at Universal Studios City Walk when they're building. Anybody ever been to Universal Studios in California? A couple of people, right? So they were building this huge major mall. So they sent me these drawings, no idea what the F I was doing, priced it out. They call me up and say, the job's yours. I literally had no idea what to do. Grabbed the plans, hopped on a plane, went to California, went to LA, and literally was kind of figuring out, okay, now how we're gonna build it. So the reason why I bring it up is that was our first out of state, out of market project that really kind of launched our national footprint. And then it kind of one thing led to another, you do one, you do another, so on and so forth. Again, the lesson here was just learning about, number one, huge risk, saying yes even though you have no idea what you're gonna do and how to do it, but having the confidence that you're going to find the right people to help you do it, right? So that was really, I would say, the key thing was all about finding people to help to get it done and not being afraid to say, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I need your help. How can you help? How can you help? And so on and so forth, and learning from everybody that I talk to. And that was really the key thing. And you'll see as these things go on, because people ask, how did the culture create, okay? And that'll evolve from there. So the next big, oh my God, how do you do this, was a couple of years later, get awarded a $15 million project. So I remember the Crate and Barrel store that used to be at Somerset Mall on the south side. It was a big project. It was way over our skis, but somehow or another we figured it out and did what we did. So now we've been in business for a couple of years. As you can see, we've now done 100 projects. We've got 18 team members, kind of, again, learning and learning and learning, mostly learning from things that we screwed up, okay? And mostly learning from people coming in and saying, hey, why don't we try this, as I said earlier, whether it be systems, whether it be technology, whatever it may be. It was all that attitude of what do the team members bring so that we can learn and get better and learn and get better. Because I didn't know much at the time, just like I don't know much today. So then, now that you have team members, you start thinking, okay, I now have a different level of resource. And it was the next year in 1994 where we said, okay, we need to be part of a community. We need to start building a community that's not just our own company, right? Not just our, whatever. Now I got 14 team members. Obviously got 4 less at that time. And what are we going to do, and how can we do some things in the community? So we were championed to. Anybody ever do these playgrounds where you get volunteers to help build the playground, and these companies come in and kind of support you on it? So there was an organization down in Oak Park that they were doing it, and we kind of took over the project as the lead volunteers, and our team members all worked there to build this playground at the Jewish Historical Society over there on 10 Mile in Oak Park. And it really was a cool thing because it really kind of introduced a different level of relationship between our company, our team members, our community. And I would say that was the beginning of this moment to kind of understand how our company can be more than just a construction company. Okay? And that was kind of a big deal. It was certainly a big deal at the time. Well, then fast forward to 1998. I would say this was probably the first time we were kind of recognized. You know, we were recognized as one of the fastest growing private companies in Michigan at that time. We didn't, I will say that I didn't know we were growing because you're just kind of going about your business every single day, as I'm sure many of you here do. You got your head down. But this was also the time that we were, for lack of better terms, celebrating. Okay? We were celebrating our, successes. We were having holiday parties. Some of the holiday parties were at my house, or a restaurant. Our team was coming more like a family kind of a concept. And as I said earlier, every company has a culture, and the culture just sometimes evolves. And this is when I would say that our culture really started evolving. And I would say this is also a time we try to bring a lot of fun into the business. That became a big part of the concept. So then, just a couple milestones. Milestone in 1998, a big deal. First time we actually built the project coming out of the ground. Prior to that, so for 7 years, all of our projects were called tenant improvement interior renovations. Milestone, big celebration, okay? And now you can see, now we're doing all these team events. Since 1999, so 25 years, every year we do all company events, all company photos. It really became the beginning of these large company events. I don't even know how many people are in that picture, but we also have other companies are in here. By that time, as you can see in the picture, Todd Sachse Real Estate, which is our real estate investment and development company that I started with my partner, Richard Broder. So that kind of added to it. So as the years went on, other companies were brought on board, which is super exciting. But I had to bring the next milestone, which was Detroit. So in 2000 is when I would say that we were really introduced to a big part of what was happening in Detroit in the year 2000. We were fortunate enough to be involved in this project. It was the Dime building, which some people now know as the Chrysler House over there on Griswold. And we were fortunate enough to be the contractor that literally gutted that entire building, to the structure, put all new systems in the building. And we actually, at that time, opened up an office in downtown Detroit, down the street in the another building down the street. So that was kind of a big deal for us. Fast forward 13 years later, we moved to Detroit, but this was kind of our beginning of our Detroit presence and getting involved in it, and it was really a cool thing. So I'm going to stop there for a minute and say, what went on from, if I'm talking just the construction company, from 1991 all the way to about 2001, for those first 10 years. And I would say everything we did was by brute force. And I say this in a fun way. There was a couple of us that were just working, not exaggerating, 70, 80, 90, 100 hours a week, just figuring it out, trying to build something and having a lot of fun at it. But we didn't really have a machine. We didn't have systems that were with continuity to scale. So we were bigger than what we should have been. And we went from zero to $100 million, till by 2012. That was kind of when we hit the $100 million mark. So what's that? It's not overnight, by the way, in case you wanted the math. It was a long time, but it was hard. But a key time was in 2012. Has anybody here ever heard of Gino Wickman or EOS? Okay, great. There's a lot of people here, right? So I kind of joke with Gino. I say, Gino, I knew you when. Because in 2002, we got introduced to Gino Wickman. At that time, he literally had a handful, probably 10 or 12 clients that he was meeting with on a quarterly basis to help coach and introduce. At that time, was not called EOS. It was a whole, very similar stuff, but it was called different. And I met Gino, right? And we worked with Gino every quarter, met with him quarterly, did annual meetings with him for 2.5, 3 years. And I gotta say, he was one of the few people in my life that had such a gigantic impact, okay, on our business, and how we do it. And to this day, he's certainly one of my mentors, and I owe so much to how we've scaled the business over the last X number of years to what I learned from Gino. Again, another example of learning, okay? I'm gonna take this moment to share another thing that's very fortunate. So raise your hand in this room if you can truly say, I have a mentor. Okay, that's phenomenal. That is great, okay? So raise your hand if you have 2 mentors. Raise your hand if you have 3. And raise your hand if you have 4. Great, okay, I'm lucky enough to have 4, right? You're lucky to have any. And I was so fortunate that I had 4 mentors. Gino was one of them. Another one actually is in the room here, Neil Zelenko, which I was so thrilled to see him, who was a mentor who I met many back in 1985. He's been my mentor ever since then, okay? A gentleman named Ron Sharfus, who's Ron's son-in-law here was Lou Goldhaber. He was a mentor from 1989. And another gentleman named Robert Schechter, who's not with us anymore. I was so fortunate to have that. So to have that luck, to have somebody who was maybe a different generation of yours, but to have that. But you also have to have the willingness to listen, okay? And I was very lucky to have them. So now we built this company, we've built this organization, and as we've grown, at this point we probably have 50 or 60 or 70 team members. And you talk about culture, and what you learn here is that, what I was learning is that now in order to grow your culture as you scale, it has to be more systematic. Prior to this point, just to give you an example, I did every single person's review every single year. I hired every single person. And it can't work that way. You can't scale that way. So it too much relied upon me. And as we grew this culture, we figured out how do we grow it. So what we learned, you can see on this logo here is the enterprise of companies, which is now 5 companies. We figured out that we really have to systematize, as strangely as that sounds, how do you manage your culture? How do you teach your culture? How do you bring team members in to understand what it is? And over the years, this is what has developed, and I'll briefly walk through them and go from there. We refer to them as the 4 pillars, okay? Our 4 pillars of our company is made up of 4 things: our core values, our obsessions, our principle of service, and our reisms. Those are our 4 pillars. They're not just words. They are things that we teach, we train, we live by, we brainwash our team members with it. It is really the foundation of what our organization is. And what you're going to see as I briefly go through them, none of them have anything to do with what we do. None of them have anything to do with construction or real estate or HVAC or Zolman restoration, insurance restoration, or reconstruction. None of them have anything to do with anything of what we do. It's all about the who we are and how we think and how we behave. And what we've done is, what you're going to see as we move on, it has to be intentional. And it cannot just rely upon it being organic. Because as you scale, you can't rely upon it. So we started out, when we met with Gino, I'll never forget this, our first meeting with him, he said to us, what are your core values? And there were 6 of us standing around the table at the time. I think one of the people are in this room that was in that room, Lee. And when he said, what are your core values? We all went, we had no idea what he was talking about. So he said, I'm going to run you through an exercise, and what we're going to do is we're going to discover your core values. Because what we learned is you can't choose your core values. You can discover them, but you can't choose them. So I'm going to make a long story very short, but the long story is we decided amongst the 6 of us, about 10 or 12 people in our company that we thought were great superstars. We defined them by their attributes: hardworking, honest, caring, always there for you, did all these different attributes of describing them. And we decided after a day that basically we described the same person 12 times over again, and we found the common thread of those 12 people. Because what we did is we discovered the people that our organization are really who are defining our core values. It's who they are. And ultimately we came up with our core values. And to this day, since 2002 or 2003, not a word has changed. Those have been our core values since that day when we finalized them, and not one thing has changed. We hire and fire to those core values, period. And it's not 3 out of 4, it's not 3.5 out of 4. You have to have all 4, 100, 100, 100, 100. And that's it, and there's no gray. And that's across our whole enterprise. So that was the beginning of us trying to create, again, this continuity of culture, because again, a cult has, remember, I know people don't like that word, but you gotta call it what it is, right? A cult has, shared beliefs. All of our team members must have these shared beliefs. And we also believe that we can't teach them. These are not teachable. They are, you walk into an organization with them, you have them or you don't, period. So many years later, we discovered something else. And again, we discovered this, and that is, God, what's important to us? What are we always talking about? When we're in our meetings and we're solving problems, what does it always come down to? And we discovered, again, what are we obsessed with? Every time we're sitting there figuring something out, what are we obsessed with? We're always talking about our team members. We're always talking about what's better for them. How do we make it better for them? How do we make their job easier? We're obsessed with our team members. Our customers, what do we do for them? How can we make it better? How do we make it easier for our customers to work with us? Okay, what do we do? And we always talk about that. We're obsessed with our customers. We're always asking for feedback. We're obsessed with surveys internally, externally, asking our customers, how do we do better? We're obsessed with that feedback constantly, right? We're obsessed with innovation. We always want to find a better way. Innovation is not always technology. It might be, but anything that just helps things to innovate in order to do your job better, to service our customers, to service our industry, to service our community. These are things that we discovered we're obsessed with. So we said, wait a second. Why don't we tell everybody what we're obsessed with and share it? So we literally tell every team member, we want you to be obsessed with it. We're asking you. I want you every single day when you're going about your business, I want you to be obsessed with these things. I want you to be obsessed with your team members. I want you to think about them all the time. How can I make my team member better? How can I support them? How can I support my customer? What can I do better? What feedback is there? How do I learn? We're obsessed with learning and getting better. So we literally, going back to culture, is we are asking and begging our team members to do this. And this is another one of our pillars that we teach and train. Principle of service. We discovered many years ago, it was actually, I'm looking at Lou, 10 years ago, 5 years ago? 5 years ago, okay? We said, you know what? We got to be in the hospitality business. So we came with this whole idea is let's figure out how to teach people how to give good service. Just like they do if you're going to a Four Seasons hotel or Ritz-Carlton. How do the high-level hospitality companies do this? And we went down this journey to figure out what that means. And over time, we kind of figured this out and said, we basically came up with 10 principles of service. And these are not just words that are on a wall. Again, we train them. Every single team member will go through 3.5 hour training about what this means. We have videos to teach people about customer service and what this means. Each one of these items, each one of these sayings are part of our principle of service. There's 10 of them. And each one individually is taught and practiced so that every single team member, whether you're our director of first impressions at our office, whether you're an accountant, a project manager, whether you're on the Z team, you're a technician, you're a project manager, doesn't matter what you are in an organization, every single team member and every one of the companies must go through a principle of training. And it's talked about all the time. And again, very, very, very intentional is the way it is, okay? And that's one of our pillars. It's one of our differentiators. And after you can see, if you looked at our obsessions, our core values, and our principles of service, anybody see the word construction in there? It doesn't say we're obsessed with things being plumb and square, okay, right? I mean, it's nothing to, it's all about the people. It's all about the team members. Because if you take care of your team members, they're the ones who are providing your service, and they're the ones who basically are creating and living your culture. Then we have a thing called Rayisms. That's our mascot. His name is Ray Z Bar. Good. We got a couple laughs, so good. Because if you go all the way back to our core values, one of our core values is strive for excellence by constantly raising the bar. We're never satisfied. We're obsessed with getting better constantly. So back in 2007, one of our team members actually came with the idea that we should have a mascot. And his name is Ray Z Bar. And we thought that was kind of cool. So then my next door neighbor, ironically, was actually a cartoonist. And I said, hey, could you create a character that may look like a guy named Ray Z Bar? And that's how we created him, okay? So that's Ray Z Bar. But Ray has sayings. He has sayings, there's 16 sayings that Ray has. And these are sayings that literally, and I say this both tongue-in-cheek, but seriously, to brainwash our team members. And what do I mean by that? Brainwashing means influencing people's behavior. We want to influence our team members' behavior. We want them every time they're out there working with our team members, each other, the community, with their clients, to think about things maybe in a different way, so when they're going about their business. So, some examples, you'll see them. Some of them are self-explanatory, right? Dig deep, what does that mean? Ask a lot of questions, get smart, okay? You know, circle of life, everything's connected. Everything you do affects everything else. Just know that. Make the perfect pass. If you're giving somebody something, you're passing your work on to somebody else, make it clean, make it good, make it right? And we do this, again, I think it's about 6 or 7 times a year. Myself, my partner Richard, my other partner Lou, we do an all-day 6-hour training where we go through all 4 pillars. And we teach and train every single one of these. And we'll spend 10 minutes just talking about one Rayism and what it means and how we want people to think, okay? And we make it fun, right? Because they have to learn. So one of the things that we do in these trainings is we have videos. You gotta get some fun to it. So, for example, deliver solutions, not problems. So we explain what that means. You never wanna go to somebody and say, here's the problem, what do you want me to do? Whether it be a team member, a client, we train them. Hey, you gotta come up with solutions. That's our job, that's what we're hired to do. So when we're explaining what it means, we say, here's a perfect example of not delivering solutions and only delivering a problem. Play video.
Go. Can I help you? Name, please.
Seinfeld, you made a reservation for a mid-size, and she's a small. I'm kidding around, of course.
Yes. Okay, let's see here.
66 years old?
Yeah, well, he's in perfect health. He works out. He's vibrant. You'd really like him.
Why do people always say that? I hate everybody. Why would I like him?
So what do you think? Could you go out with a 66-year-old woman?
Well, I'll tell you, she would have to be really vibrant. So vibrant, she'd be spinning.
Oh, I'm sorry. We have no midsize available at the moment.
I don't understand. I made a reservation. Do you have my reservation?
Yes, we do. Unfortunately, we ran out of cars.
But the reservation keeps the car here. That's why you have the reservations.
I know why we have reservations.
I don't think you do. If you did, I'd have a car. See, you know how to take the reservation, you just don't know how to hold the reservation. And that's really the most important part of the reservation, the holding. Anybody can just take them.
Let me speak with my supervisor.
Here we go. The supervisor. You know what she's saying over there?
What?
Hey, Marge, see those 2 people over there? They think I'm talking to you. So you pretend like you're talking to me. Okay, now you start talking.
Oh, you mean like this? So it looks like I'm saying something, but I'm not really saying anything at all?
Okay, now you say something else, and they won't yell at me because they thought I was checking with you.
Oh, great, I think that's enough. See you later.
Good.
I'm sorry, my supervisor says there's nothing we can do.
Yeah, it looked like you were in a real conversation over there.
But we do have a compact if you would like that.
Fine.
All right. Well, we have a blue Ford Escort for you, Mr. Seinfeld. Would you like insurance?
Yeah, you better give me the insurance because I am gonna beat the hell out of this thing.
Please, fill this out.
Get it? Right? So you gotta have some fun with it, because if you don't teach it with fun and it becomes memorable, it's very hard for it to stick, right? And you can see as we got more of them, you can just see them on here. They're pretty, some are pretty obvious. No done buts. What's a done but? Just yell it out. I'm done. But, okay, if the word, but comes after the word done, you're not done, right? Right? So, I mean, these are the kind of things, again, as you see these, you can see how they apply to your behavior and what you're going to do, right? All we have is a reputation. Every time you're going about your life, think about how it affects your reputation, the company's reputation, your team members' reputation, and we drill this stuff into people's heads relentlessly, and very, very intentionally. You can see some of the last 1%, all the customer remembers. It's amazing. How many times have you had the experience? You have an experience with somebody, boom, you're doing a great job, everything's going great, one little thing at the end, you screw up, and now they hate you, right? And you're pissed at them, like, oh my God, it's such a great job. All that one little thing. By the way, I tell everybody, I hate to say it to you, you're guilty of it too. We all are. That 1% is the last thing that people remember and has a huge impact, right? Don't hide behind email. How many here hide behind email? Come on, don't lie. There you go. See, I have some honest people over there, right? Okay? It's amazing. 2024, nobody picks up the phone and calls. They're sitting there at the computer, answer everything with the email. Come on, pick up the phone. Go meet with them. Get out of your chair, walk down the hall and talk to them. Schedule a meeting face to face. Get off that Zoom call. Hate those things, right? So we're very obsessed with that type of thing. I got already favorites, but another fun one. If you like the cook, you like the food, right? Well, what does that mean? Some people say the reverse. If you don't like the cook, you are not going to like the food. It doesn't matter what they do. If you don't like somebody and you don't respect them, it doesn't matter what they do, you will not be happy. However, if you build relationships and you build trust with people and you make it personal, and these are things that we teach, make it personal, you'd be amazed at the results that you get. Because now they're on your team, and now they want you to succeed, no matter who it is, a team member, a client, a community member, doesn't matter what, okay? So another fun video that teaches this very, very well, but before we roll it, okay, I always tell people when you're watching this, you got to do two things at one time. And it's tough for me, okay, especially us guys, do two things at one time. I know that, okay? Not only listen to what they're saying, but watch the body language of the people in the video, because it's amazing that level of communication that exists in this thing. This was a brilliant scene. Roll video.
I thought we could start by going over the needs of the county.
Right. Well, Lackawanna County has not been immune to the slow economic growth over the past 5 years. So for us, the name of the game is budget reduction.
Awesome Blossom.
What?
I think we should share an Awesome Blossom. What do you say? They are awesome. You want to, Christian? Awesome?
Sure.
Okay, it's done. Actually, Megan, may we have an Awesome Blossom, please? Extra awesome. Now it is done.
So,
Hey, I heard
if you have
a very, very funny joke the other day. You want to hear it?
Christian, you don't have to listen to this.
It's okay, I like jokes.
Okay. The first guy says, well, I'm an astronaut, so I drive a Saturn. And the second guy says, well, I am a pimp, so I drive a cheap Escort. And the third guy says, I got you both beat. I'm a proctologist, so I drive a brown probe.
No! Oh, my God, that's funny. I almost had Awesome Blossom coming out of my nose.
Excuse me, can I have a vodka tonic, please?
Oh, that's delicious. I love it.
We would probably be upset with ourselves if we went this whole night without talking business. So Dunder Mifflin can provide a level of personal service to the county that the warehouse chains just can't match.
Well, we are out to save money.
What's the bottom line?
Did somebody say baby back ribs?
I don't think Christian has time for that.
I have time.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my
baby back ribs. Here's the thing about those discount suppliers. They don't care. They come in, they undercut everything, and they run us out of business. And then, once we're all gone, they jack up the prices.
I know.
It's bad.
It's terrible.
It? You know what? It really is.
I don't know. I guess I could give you guys our business, but you have to meet me halfway, okay? Because they're expecting me to make cuts.
Well, corporate's gonna go ballistic, but you think we could, Jan?
Who watches The Office? Who watched The Office? Oh, we had all right, good coverage on that one. That was good. That was good. So where does this all lead to? It leads to, they have 4 pillars, which is our internal everything. But we then got to take it to the external. So we are passionate about bringing as many things as we can to our community. So just a couple of things, examples. We have the Sachse Speaker Series, where we bring in guest speakers locally from around the country for events, locally here in Detroit, in New York, and we invite team members, we invite our clients, we invite community people, and we've had tremendous success with that. And again, let's just be frank. It's a win-win. We're doing it because our team members want to be part of the community. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves, right? And it also, brings, you're out there communicating. You're out there building relationships, and your clients and your community looks at your organization as not just a transactional relationship with everything you do. And we really want to avoid that. We do 4 times a year, we do all company meetings. We call them State of the Unions for 2 of them, in December and in July. And then in the other quarters, in the Q1 and Q3, we call fireside chats. And we bring the whole company together. And we are as transparent as the glass. So if our team members know that we are transparent with them and every single thing, we share our financial information with every single team member. They know to the penny how much money we're making or not, right? And every single detail. It's presented at a State of the Union both in December, our annual results for that year, what our plan is for the next year. In July, we say, here's how we're doing. And then our 2 fireside chats is kind of a check-in where we sit around, we kind of update some things that have been going on. And again, as always, opening up to questions and so on and so forth. About 10 years ago, we started a thing called the Sachse Construction Academy. And this was an idea, and we were celebrating at that time our 20th anniversary, if I remember correctly, our 25th anniversary, for one of the anniversaries. And we were deciding, what are we going to do for that? What should we do to celebrate our anniversary? And typical thing, let's have a party, let's invite all of our clients and friends and blow a bunch of money on one night. And one of our team members said, you know what, that really doesn't seem like us. Why don't we just figure out what we can do from a community standpoint? So at the time the decision was made was workforce development. How do we get more young people into the trades? So the idea stemmed that first year, which the intent was to do it one time, to celebrate our I think it was our 25th anniversary. To celebrate our 20th anniversary, we went to Eastern Market, Shed 3. We brought in about 30 of our trade partners, plumbers, electricians, carpenters, pipe fitters, painters, and they all set up these little mods, little setups, and we brought 500 Detroit high school juniors and seniors to spend the day there. And they went from area to area. And they're with the carpenter, and they're nailing nails, and they're at the electrician bending conduit, and they're the mason. They're laying up brick and building a brick wall. I mean, real stuff with the trades and learning about what that's all about. Well, it was so successful. We've now been doing it every single year. We've done it there. We bring them to our job sites, and we bring these Detroit high school kids to our job sites to introduce them to trades and show them if you want to become a tradesman or tradeswoman, here's what it takes. Here's who you call. Here's how much money you make, all the different things. So it's something that we've been passionate about in the community, and we literally have introduced thousands and thousands of Detroit kids to it. 25 years ago, we started the Play It Forward golf outing, where we raise money for local charities. It has grown tremendously. Over our 25 years, we've raised, I think, over $1.7 million net that we've given to organizations. That all comes from our golf outing. The first one 25 years ago, I'm going to give you my guess. I'm probably not too far off. I think we ended up raising about $4,000 or $5,000. And I'll never forget that was for the Child and Neglect Council of Oakland County up in Pontiac. Today, this last one we just had, we raised netted over $230,000 in one day. And half of that money went to the downtown boxing gym here in Detroit, and the other half it went to the junior achievement, right? So huge, huge success. I mean, but there's so much of this that goes on in our organization, and it's really done by our team members. It's led by our team members. The passion is with our team members. Which brings us to the Sachse Social Mission. So we actually have a Sachse Social Mission, which is all about the youth of Detroit, life skills, skilled labor. Really, it's really about that. And as a result of that, many years ago, Jill Brack, who's here, she was the founder of the Sachse Social Mission Committee. And there's what, about a dozen team members on there? 18. There's 18 team members, and it rotates, so people come on it, so other people can participate. And they are deciding what organizations that they want to support, whether it be volunteer, give money to it, whatever it may be. So they're constantly vetting organizations to get engaged with. And it's wonderful what they do and participate in our city. So that kind of gives you the sense, and I can go on and on for hours, but I'm being told to shut up and stop, okay, which is fine. So we're going to open up the questions. But before we do that, the theme here, some people think, oh my God, it's been so great, you've done all this. So here's the end result. The end result, we went from 0 to 300 million in 45 years. Yeah, it's an overnight success, right? You know, this did not happen overnight. This, fortunate, and it's all because of our team members. I'm telling you, 99.999% of it is team members, and I think there's a lot of luck in there too, of having the fortunate that what we have. I feel blessed every single day that I get to go to work and work with a bunch of people I love to be with. It's not even work, it's sport. It's like every day it's a game. Let's go play this game today. And I'm doing it with people that I love to do it with. And it's fun. It's people that care. It's people I want to go hang out with. And that's really what we're fortunate to have. And it did not happen overnight. It has been a 45-year journey. And God willing, it'll be another 45 years to continue that journey. But that's what it is. So, questions? There better be questions, otherwise it's going to be really boring. I see somebody back there.
Construction personnel in 2024.
What's the key to attracting construction?
What are a couple keys to attracting construction talent in 2024?
It's like any other business, whether construction talent or accounting talent or wait service talent, is you want just to create an environment that people want to be a part of. It's recruiting and retaining. Number one, focus on your team members. One of our raisins is wire the green spot. Take care of your customers, take your existing customers, take care of your existing team members. There's no better way to attract new team members is from referral from existing team members. So if you're creating a great environment, your team members will tell the people that they know, and also just your reputation. Let it speak for itself. Let it speak for itself. That's my big belief in that. Right there. Right here.
So when you're talking about hiring for the core values, and then that's got to be important. You talked about hiring process and having the core values, and
when you're doing that, is that an individual or is that a group of people that come to that decision? Because, a lot of that's subjective.
Great question. So if somebody comes to work at our organization, they'll go through anywhere from 3 to, I think Steve went through 10, 10 interviews, okay, and meet with multiple different people. And only a portion of those interview process is to learn about that person's ability, their skills, what they're capable of doing. The vast majority of it is really to understand the who they are, and really try to, in the best of your ability, to do that. Now, years ago, I used to interview every single person. Today, I think Lou is pretty much on that line. Lou Goldhaber here is like our chief of staff, that he, virtually every single team member that potentially comes into our organizations will go through Lou, and he's really good at kind of mining from that core value on the who side of it, and not necessarily whether you're a good project manager or a good Zollman technician. Let's figure out the who. Are we perfect at it? Of course not. Do we have misses? Of course you do. But you got to be very intentional. You got to look for it.
Todd, did you ever go through a period where you just were in a funk and thought, how do I get out of this and where do I go from here as an entrepreneur running a big company?
Every day. Right. I mean, yeah. There's no single moment. One of the greatest human emotions is fear, right? Just turn a commercial on, and any commercial, what are they doing? They're somehow appealing to your fear. And the two most powerful human emotions are sex and fear. Those are the two most powerful because they're natural. Those are the natural emotions, So yeah, I live in fear every day. Yeah.
My assumptions are you're the visionary now in the company. How difficult was it to transition from the implementer to the visionary?
Good question. So yeah, from, what was your first year, Steve? 2013. Yeah. So from 1991 to 2013, I did both. I was living the vision and the implementer, and the window washer, right? Everything in between. And you guys are a part of an organization. I was in an organization called YPO, and my YPO forum for years was trying to convince me to hire, a president and COO. And eventually they convinced me to do that. And then when I started that process, it took 13 months to fortunately find Steve Burlage, who Steve's now been with us for 11 plus years, who's been president and COO of Sachse Construction ever since then. And I would say it has been an absolute perfect partnership because his unique ability is what he does. He's an incredible integrator. Has really allowed us to scale and bring the best practices that he had in his organization. He was with Turner Construction for 30 years, and he brought a lot of those best practices that he has learned over the years. We committed to each other. We're going to continue our culture, and he was going to help bring best practices, and it's been phenomenal. So yeah, it took a little bit of prying and me to understand that. Another one of my learning, many learning experiences. You just learn. But you only learn if you listen. Yeah. Nothing else? Got somebody over here.
What do you do to overcome that daily fear you spoke about?
Get up early and stay late. I always said this, and I think some of the people that work with me for a long time I think they might agree, is that I may not be as smart as anybody else, okay? I guarantee you one thing, I can outwork you. Somebody here in the middle.
Another fear of entrepreneurs is growing too fast. Did you see your culture changing as your sales started growing larger and larger products? How did you kind of accompany that?
So yeah, we went through times where we were growing really fast, had a couple of those hockey stick years. I'm sure that there were, drops in that. And I think that's when we really started realizing that we needed to, in 2002, 3, 4, and as we grew, and these 4 pillars were developing over the years, and having classes and training and documenting and all the time. We're learning that in order to scale and to maintain and to grow your culture, you need to do things that were way more intentional. It has to be intentional. And you have to scream it from the rooftop. You know, sometimes you find out as leaders, because I think most people in this room are leaders, is that you're like, oh, I'm sick of talking about it all the time. I've said it 1,000 times. Well, you have to keep saying it 1,000 times because you have new team members coming in. So they didn't hear it 1,000 times. They've never heard it. So you constantly have to be, so it's just, you have to systematize it. Otherwise, I mean, there's 350 team members between our 5 companies, and so many of them around all over the country. So you really got to be very, very, very intentional about it. And it's not easy. It's hard. I think I'm getting kicked out. No problem.
We want to thank you for being here, and we have a applause.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Marshall. I don't know where I'm looking.
Who knows? Thank you, guys. That concludes our program today. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you join us again next year. Have a great day.
You're welcome. Thank you.